Alright, so I'm going to go get the RB blocks today. I'm going to take them over to hot tank them, and I'll let them sit over there. I turned the hot tank on yesterday. It usually takes a day to actually warm up, so it should be warm today. It's like 200 degrees, and yeah, I'll leave those blocks in there for a few days, and hopefully it makes them all nice and clean so I can start messing with them, because they're kind of just sitting there doing practically nothing right now. I need to probably put that RB26 back together. I have a new set of rods and pistons that I've had for a long time, and also I need to actually find a crank, because my crank was definitely destroyed on that engine. So I'll probably try to find the used crank, a good one, and then order some bearings and stuff and polish up the pistons and get it ready to go back together. The head I'll have to weld because a part of it was melted. Yeah, that engine was pretty much a piece of junk. If you go back to my videos and watch it, it was just destroyed. Even though I paid full price for a running engine, I got something that had a rod knock and melted stuff. So what else? Oh yeah, I started messing with the exhaust on the giveaway car. My window on my truck cracked, so I need to call the insurance, and I guess I'll get a new windshield for my truck. Alright, so I got the RB30 and the R34, well, one of the R34 GTR heads. So I'm going to throw this in the aluminum cleaner and then that in the hot tank. Get it all clean. And I already drilled out, so this is the main oil galley. I drilled the plug out so you can actually swab that, because if you don't, there's all that extra stuff that gets in your bearings after you rebuild an engine, and then you blow an engine up. Right, so kind of clean the RB up, so I have the head and this stuff. It's actually like really old, but it works very well. So yeah, there's the RB head getting all nice and cleaned up, and the blocks in that hot tank. So it's been a day. I'm going to show you how tight this stuff is. Watch this. So you can definitely see, and that's even before I even touch it. So I'll clean it and then flip it, and then I'll show you the difference. So yeah, you could definitely see this 4 cylinders were in the stuff, and the back part that still needs to go in there wasn't. You can see like the line. So yeah, that stuff cleans all that very well. Now I just need to put it back in. Alright, so I did get the block and stuff out of the hot tank. Everything looks really good. So the block is all nice and cleaned up. You can see that the cylinders actually, they don't feel too bad. They're a little bit discolored. I think that was from when I was up in Minnesota. That's definitely from when it was running. It was a diesel, so you know how diesel people are. There's the girdle. I cleaned the head up, so there's the head. The thing with this head is this is another R34 head. The only problem with this one is I don't have any caps. Well, I have some of the caps. This is one of the engines I bought that was supposed to run. It didn't. The importer wouldn't give me my money back. So what happened? It looked almost like they washed it, like ran it with solvent in it to clean all the oil out of it. But so some of the can caps, the bolts were like seized in the caps. So what I'll probably end up doing is making a set of billet cam caps if I ever end up using this head, and then yeah, it should be good to go. Right now I've just cleaned it up so it's not dirty when I handle it, but it's just like a mock-up head, so I can make like a turbo manifold and all the other good stuff. And then there's the there's some stock pistons I cleaned up. I need to sand the faces of them up here and do what I always do. I just sand them, mirror polish them, and that holds in a lot of the heat. So with engines, you want to keep as much of the heat inside the cylinder as possible to make the most power and to avoid detonation. Well, if you like a mirror is the most reflective thing, so if you could like put 2 mirrors in your engine, or like have it perfectly mirror polished, like the chamber and the top of the piston, it would keep a lot of that heat. The more heat you keep in, the more power you make. So yeah, this block is nice and clean, and I zoomed in. Sorry, you guys are gonna have to deal with that again, but I wish I'd auto zoom out when I flipped it. But and then this pan, I cleaned it, so it's all the way clean. I didn't notice though before I cleaned it, I think it was like had body filler or something on it, because it didn't look all smashed. After it came out of the tank, it was like, it's like has a big smash, it's like welded and stuff. It'll work for now until like I go dry sump or something. I'll break in the engine on dinosaur oil, and then when I actually switch over to the dry sump setup, I'll pull that pan and put good oil in it. So that'll be a long ways down the road. Don't get your hopes up right now, but it's a project that is coming together. All right, so here's the G35. I need to put the coilovers over here on it. And I might put some of the arms on it tonight too, but I really want to actually get the coilovers on it first. So I'm going to be pulling off the old struts, and this kind of has been sitting outside getting all dusty because they sandblast back there. So so yeah, I'm going to be getting some coils. They'll be a little bit lower, and maybe yeah, maybe I'll adjust those helper springs a little bit so it's not as messed up. Alright, so I got the, where's it at? So I got the upper control arm and the stock strut off of the front. I'm going to put the aftermarket, you really can't see because it's kind of dark. I'm going to put the aftermarket coilover and the upper control arm on this, and then bolt everything back together. It's not too many bolts, and then see exactly how the suspension's set up. Well, previously was set up, and then I'll probably adjust it from there, because I'm sure it is pretty far off from what I would adjust it to. So yeah, coming along, and this thing will have coilovers pretty soon. Okay, so the upper control arms are on, and so are the coilovers. Let me get a light. Okay, so I got my flashlight. So the upper control arms are on, so are the coilovers, and you can see before they weren't greased. Let me zoom into that. So you can see I greased them because they have little zerts on the bottom of them. But now they're all nice and in grease. They move really. You really can't see when but they're like really nice now. Before, they didn't have any grease in them. They probably never had any grease in them. So I'm going to bolt those to the knuckles, and also put the I need a jack to jack it up. And as you can see, what I was talking about before, the last drift event I was driving in. Let me zoom in again. That's my lower control arm bushing, and that's what I was having issues with, causing the suspension to do all kinds of crazy stuff. So sooner or later I'll either put an energy suspension bushing in there, or I'll actually get some lower control arms. So we'll see. Okay, so I haven't adjusted these coils or anything. I just put the upper control arms and coils to see where I was at, and whoever had these on, well, I guess it was some girl had these on her 350Z, but yeah, like tucking 17s, so super slammed. So I'm going to do, I'm going to adjust those coils, raise them up quite a bit, and then push out the, because it's cambered, so I'm going to push the camber out with those upper control arms. Right now I'm going to just worry about throwing the rears on and seeing where it's at. So after that's all done, I could decide how to align it. to see where it's exactly at. And then my friend, I'm gonna buy his intake from him, so I'm gonna get rid of this ghetto thing that I have and his exhaust. So once I finish this stuff, then he'll, well, he's gonna do it like a Jay-Z swap in his G35. So I'll get that stuff when he starts that.
Unless you just want to weld this whole thing.
I don't know, whatever. So this is what I was kind of talking about. The G35 has like that spring and then a strut, but the coilover from the 350Z, the newer ones, converts it to a true coilover. So I am going to throw those on really quick, and the arms, and see how she sits. I'm sure it's going to be like super like gangster low and gangster leaning like it is right now. So I'm going to do that now, so we'll see. Alright, so here's a comparison. This is the stock spring and strut, and that is the coilover I'm converting it to. As you can see on this side, this is the passenger side strut. It is fine, and the driver's side strut is fully compressed. It is blown. So, you know, this thing had been sitting a long time. It was an accident. It had really bad suspension. I have actual adjustable arms. I'm not going to put them on right now. They are right here. And they pretty much replace, let me get my flashlight. So it replaces that perch right there that held the spring. That is that fat silver one right there. The one right there is the tension rod. That is that silver one right there, that skinny one. And then the lower one right there by the sway bar is the Cosmo red one. So I will put the coil on, and then I'll put those arms on afterwards later. When I do it on the lift, I will mess with it a little bit more. I need to still adjust height to figure out where I'm going to have it sit. It'll probably be decently low, but I don't want it to be slammed. I want all my arms to be pretty much flat on the lower control arms, so they're not really compressed and not effective in actual driving and drifting and stuff like that. So I'm going to keep working, throw this last strut on, bolt everything back together. I'll need nuts because those stock struts had the nut, actually it was part of the strut, and then set it on the ground, put the wheels on, and I'll be done for tonight. I may end up welding the exhaust, well, some of the exhaust on the JZ car. I fabbed that up earlier. Trevor welded the downpipe and the rear section. So now all I need to do is I'm going to weld the V-bands onto this. Trevor already got that, and he looks like he got that one too. So I'll get the two V-bands after I'm probably done with the G. I should be done in the next, I don't know, I'd say the next 30 minutes. So we'll see what happens. See how low it is. Okay, so the G is officially, you know, slammed. It, dang, it's like so dark. So yeah, it's tucking 15-inch wheels and tires. So I need to put all those arms on the back still, as I said before. That's why the front and the rear need to be adjusted. The height needs to be adjusted. A lot of things need to be adjusted with it. Whoever set the suspension up on that Z, that's probably why the girl got rid of the coils and the suspension and stuff, because it was so poorly set up to begin with. It was probably made the car handle really horribly, especially with how low it was and with how the arms were adjusted. It was like the front wheels were really cambered. I don't know why you'd camber the front wheels so much if you have the ability to adjust them. So oh man, I zoomed in, sorry, but you're gonna have to deal with it. But yeah, now the G has coils. I'll put those other arms on there later. I need to weld the exhaust for the giveaway car. So I'm going to just, I just want to get coils and stuff on this thing to see how it looked. And I'm going to go give it a little test drive to see how it actually handles, make sure none of the coils are blown. It did seem like the front ones were blown when I drove it. And then I'm gonna weld the exhaust, go home, go to sleep. All right, so I definitely need to raise the G35. It is so low that the frame rails scrape on everything, every little bump and stuff. It feels a lot better. Well, the suspension, like the struts, the coilovers feel a lot better than the stock ones because there was a blown one in there and they're kind of iffy anyway. But yeah, I'm gonna weld that exhaust. I'll do those another day and then I'll go home and go to sleep.